This is me in 2017 and this is also me in 2022. You will say, what changed? So in the last video I talked my struggles about the side split, but in this video I will talk about the challenges I faced when I was learning the front split and how I relearned it when I lost it. So in 2018, after constant training of the front split, I had it, but after 5 years of neglecting it, I thought it was like a bike ride. You will never forget how to do it. Boy, I was wrong. Did you hear the saying?
If you don't use it, you lose it.
And that's what exactly happened. So in this video you will see how I learned the front split in the first place, the anatomy of the front split, which is of course different from the side split we talked in the last video. Number 3, we will talk about how I lost it. And number 4, we will talk about is it difficult to relearn it or learn it in the first place. And we will conclude the lessons I learned when I was learning the front split. So I started learning the front split when I was 20. I was stiff back then. Poor flexibility, poor mobility. Didn't knew what I had to do to get to the front split. But like every person, I googled it, the best program for the front split. And like you can imagine, I saw some people doing it in a day, in a week, in a month. But boy, I was so disappointed when I found out I couldn't even stretch my hip flexors and hamstrings without me saying, why am I doing this? And some people were doing it in a day. So I had to turn it down my expectations to 0. But after a few weeks, I found out a little progression. And I said to myself, why not continue? And I also liked the feeling of stretching my hip flexors. I felt this liberation, I don't know. But after a few years, I found out it was very good to stretch your hip flexors. There are certain studies that shows it's where all the stress in your body accumulate. So if you stretch your hip flexors, you will feel a little liberation. Back then I didn't know the studies, but that's when I decided to continue because it helped me with my other activities, the other sports I was doing. It felt good to stretch my hip flexors and hamstrings. And after 6 months of consistent training, I finally had it. So I think it was January 2018 when I had it. I had it so that I could even do the negative one to increase my range of motion. But the one thing I noticed, even after 6 months of training, without warm-up, there was nothing. I had to warm up every time. But you know me, I like to do it spontaneously. When I wanted to do the front split, but my hamstrings weren't ready. So it was very frustrating. I wanted to do when I wanted, in the park, in the mall, with friends, but I can't say, wait, I will warm up 5 minutes my hamstrings and after that I will do it. No, it's not very funny. And I also didn't want to end up like this. And that's when I stopped training for the front split. I said to myself, I have it, I can do that. I took some pictures, I completed this task, I will never look it back. So, how did I lose it? You heard the saying, if you don't use, you lose. So, relearning it. I don't know if you can say it like that. So, in November 2022, when I was filming the side split videos, I said to myself, why not try the front split? It will only take 5 minutes of stretching my hip flexors and hamstrings to get it. So I said to myself, I will do it. After a week or 10 days of trying it, I finally got down like this. I was not expecting that. Look at this. That's after 10 days of training. So if you learn the front split one way or another, you will not lose it, all of it. You may lose some flexibility, but your body knows. And the problem most people have is the psychology of it. So if you succeed one time, your body knows you already did. So he will not try to block it. Like the side split we talked about the last video, your body limits you because he doesn't know you can do it. And he's preventing you from stretching that far because he doesn't want you to tear something. So I think that's why it was easy to relearn it. In this part we will talk about the lessons I learned. Number 1, warm-up is needed. You have to warm up every time you try to do the front or the side split. 5-10 minutes of warming up, very necessary. You can't ignore your form. So if your form is awful, even if you learn it, it will not serve you well. So good form is imperative. And number 3, breath work. You have to learn how to breathe right. You have to have that connection with your muscles. And the last one I learned is routine. You can't change your warm-ups, you can't change your exercise. You have to have a routine to do it every day and the consistency of it. So, to conclude this video, I tried to learn the 2 splits that exist the front and the side split. The side split was not successful, but the question is, which is more difficult? For me, I will say the side split because I can't go down further than this. Some people say it's the front split that's more difficult because of the anatomy of it. Because the side splits, there are one group of muscles that you are engaging, the adductors. But in the front splits, there are more than one. You have to stretch your hip flexors, you have to stretch your hamstrings, you have to stretch your quads. So there are many more muscles engaged when you are trying to learn the front split. But in the contrary, you use more often the muscles that are in the front split, because when we are doing squat, lunge, all of that, we use our quads, our hamstrings, our hip flexors. Only in football we use more often the adductors. And for me especially, training for the front split helped me my overall mobility. And if you are training in the front split or the side split, you can mention that in the comments below and tell me which phase you are in. Are you a beginner, intermediate or advanced in this stretching? And like always, don't forget to like, to help the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to know why 99% of people don't succeed the side split, you can watch this video.